thank you very much for taking the time to come and see me on Culture Corner today. I know you're super busy, so thank you very much for squeezing me in.
No problem.
I know, obviously, we've met a few times now, so I know about your background and experience. You've done an event with us with one of our clients, so I know about you. But if anybody's listening who doesn't know you, if you could just give a bit of an intro into who you are, what you do, and teams, etc., and we'll go from there.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
No problem.
So everyone calls me Nick. So Nichole Tinnion, but everyone calls me Nick. Not even my mum calls me Nichole. I am a senior director at ASDA House, working in the technology team. So I wear a few different hats in my current role. So I look after what we call the Office of the CIO. Sounds very grand. But effectively that is to look after all of the commercial governance, supply management areas of like the whole of technology. So it's really a governance function. Okay. Looked after that for 8-9 months now, and then the other half of my role is leading the convenience tech team. So we ASDA haven't been in the convenience market before, but in the last year have gone from 3 stores to I think we're on 450 stores. So lots of like big growth area. So I've got a team that lead all of that. So they've been very busy the last year. So that's the role I do at the moment. I've done 12 roles in my 13 years at ASDA.
Wow.
So joined when I was 16, and then I have moved about a fair bit in ASDA Tech for all that time. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more into that and the ducking and diving I've done at my time at ASDA. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, it leads nicely into the next question, because I was going to say, I always ask this question because it keeps the answers are so diverse. But how did you get into tech? Was it always that's the career path I'm going to choose and I know how I'm going to progress, or how did it develop?
Yeah. So no is the answer. So I left school at 16. Wasn't super academic. Just found it quite difficult. So, probably got quite average grades at school, but wasn't like super into going to sixth form or anything like that. So my mum is very big into, when I was 16, it was find a job, whether it's a bar job or I will find you a job. So I was working from 16 in pubs, glass cleaner, glass collector, that kind of thing, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And my cousin at the time was in the RAF, and he was having an incredible time, and I went, I'll have some of that. So I decided to be a chef, which my other half would laugh at that now because I do not do the cooking in our house, but I decided I wanted to be a chef in the RAF. So I got through to the point of I was ready to go.
Yeah.
So like you've got 6-7 weeks until your next phase before you like officially join.
No.
And my stepdad, who at the time owned his own business doing SEO, so getting businesses to the top of Google and writing websites and all of that, he was like, come work for me for a little bit. So I did. It was in the bottom of our house. So I was still living at home. I was only 16. And worked for him for a little bit and then loved it. So I was like, wow, I could just do this. So he went, okay, well, we'd get you an apprenticeship, but you come work for me. So we did it, and unfortunately that experience only lasted about 6 months because I was 16, working with my stepdad, turned up to work in my pajamas. Didn't go great, but so effectively we like to joke in the family that they sacked me, but they truly did. Yeah. And they were like, do you know what, go and we'll find you an amazing place to do your apprenticeship, and then like we'll see where you go from there. So that's genuinely how I ended up in technology, was working for my stepdad. Then I did an apprenticeship at a company called International Personal Finance. In Leeds. The international arm of Provident. Yeah. I worked there for 2-3 years doing almost a bit of everything really when I think back now, but end user compute, so doing like mobiles for new starters, laptop support. I used to run the like CAB, the Change Management Board, and I had some amazing leaders in that organisation that really, really supported me because, you know, I was still young, doing international travel at like 17, just on a flight in the morning, rolling out like handheld devices. And they were amazing. So they just gave me lots and lots of different opportunities whilst I was doing my apprenticeship. Offered me a full-time role if I got my apprenticeship done quickly, which I ended up finishing it like a year early because I was like, I'm enjoying earning the money, loving coming to work. Academics isn't really for me anyway. So I completed my apprenticeship a year early and worked for them full-time for a year. And then ended up at ASDA.
Wow.
So really fell into it. When people say like fell into a career, that is genuinely, I fell into it.
So IPF gave you some a really good grounding then. Yeah. And
Amazing.
Do you think it was because you referenced the leaders there? Do you think it's because of the leaders that you worked with there that you thought, right, I want to take my career into leadership?
I think so. I think it was a joint between the bar work. So I was still doing the bar work. So at one point I was going bar, IPF, apprenticeship at college. And I think a mixture of all three. You know, at college I was the only girl in the 32 class, and then the bar, you know, I had amazing people around me there as well that were very, very supportive of me, and you know, when it's like a little bit that give me a good talking to. I remember being taken into the office, you know, come on Nichole, like you're better than this. And then like at IPF, genuinely, because it was quite a flat structure, you know, the people that were around me at that point in time, like they're all CIOs now. So, and I think they saw the potential in me in terms of, I worked hard, I didn't say no to anything, and I just was very inquisitive, I suppose is the right word, in terms of like, well, why is that like that, and why is that like that? So they were very, obviously then, informative years, because I was still so young, so I left there when I was 18, 19.
Right, wow. You experienced a lot by that time already, hadn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think like you were saying there, it helps, doesn't it, when you're inquisitive? It's like, right, okay, what does that do? What does that do? Like you want, almost like a sponge, I want to know more. And the more that you like that, the more people will invest in you, won't
100%. Yeah. So I remember when I'd only been in the business for a year, and they were like, help us run this RFP for all of our tech services with Fujitsu. And I was like, okay, I don't know what RFP means, but that sounds great. And like just to have that exposure from so early on in my career was just amazing.
Yeah, don't say no, do you? Don't say no. Right, okay, I don't know what it is, but I'll go and learn. I'll go and find out, and I'll give it a go.
Definitely.
You know, and with that support around you, they'll always guide you in the right direction. And having exposure to international travel at that age as well, to roll out, he said, like mobiles.
It was incredible, and I think as well seeing all those different cultures too. In terms of like meeting they all had like almost separate IT teams. So working with all of the different IT teams in all those different countries, like Poland, Czech, Slovakia, like the one I didn't make it to was Mexico, which was gutted. So you know, you're right, I didn't do Mexico. So yeah, very, very informative start to my career.
Yeah, we're starting it early because you think Poland's commonplace now, you know, across Europe's commonplace, but to experience that years ago is amazing. And what took you to ASDA? Is ASDA well known for its apprenticeship scheme? Is it?
So by that point, I'd finished my apprenticeship scheme with RPF.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And then I was thinking about, or had I started maybe an open university course, which IPF was sponsoring me, and they went through a round of redundancies in which I was impacted, but they were really keen to keep me. So I was interviewing for a few roles, but I'd had some advice to just apply for a few things that are external too, and to just see what's out there. And obviously, I walk past ASDA House every day to get to IPF's office, so I saw a job which I thought I can do that. It was like an analyst type role, so I'm looking at incident, I think it was for depots actually at the time, so it was like tech incidents for depots, the supply chain, and I thought I might as well just have the experience of even going and interviewing somewhere as not an apprentice. And I had my first and second interview within a week, and they offered me the role. So I managed to take the redundancy money from IPF. So took the redundancy money and had a new job. So that bought me my, contributed to me being able to buy my first house. And so I think back, at that time, although I can remember that day quite clearly, actually, that I was put at the risk of redundancy, because you don't really know what that means when you're so early in your career. And I was, you think about all the things of, is that a personal reflection on me? And those types of have I done something why? And I know in the moment it's very, very difficult, but I look back now and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. Your mum sacks you, then you get made redundant. Someone's still done it all right. So you need a little bit of luck, don't you? Of course you do.
You could have turned one way and you turn the other, and then it rolls from there. And do you think your success at ASDA has been because you've had that attitude where it's like you won't say no to anything, I'll have a go at that. You're always constantly wanting to push yourself. Yes, I never say no. Sometimes that can be at the detriment of me, I think. I think about my very early roles within ASDA. I probably said yes too much. I can think of maybe one or two times where there was a point very early on in my first 2 years where I ended up on call 3 weeks out of 4. Wow.
And it was a time of instability, so I was up all night and then working all day, and it was a time where just the team naturally adapted some attrition, and but I learned so much in that period, being on call, dealing with major incidents all of the time, depots down or whatever it was, but I probably experienced a bit of burnout there, and then I think there was a point in my career, probably 5 years later, where I'd said yes to a lot of what I would call extracurricular. Will you come talk to these students? Will you come talk about your career so far? Will you come do this thing in London? And I just said yes to all of it, and suddenly I'm working every hour God sends, and probably not looking after me and what I need. But so I've learned throughout that time, never say no, but always then consider what are your bargaining. I'm going to say yes, but but what I need to be successful in that is to drop this, and this, or for me to not do so much of this, and this. But I certainly think that attitude of not being afraid has certainly done me well throughout my career. I think the other, if I really look at myself, I do get bored quite easily.
Right, okay.
Bored in a sense of I really like to enact change. So once you've almost got to 12 months in a certain team or job or dynamic, I almost see the change through and then go, I know there's loads more to do, but I think I could be more effective.
Elsewhere. It's more like do your bit, move on, and
So it's not bored in the sense of
twiddling your thumbs.
Twiddling my thumbs. It's more of a,
you want to give.
Can I just keep?
You want to give more to somewhere else. It's interesting now that you mentioned before that you recognise that you've taken on too much in the past. Because I know I mentioned it to you before we started recording. It's one of the things that really impressed me when I first met you is you talked about, I think it was 4 or 5 pillars that you're aware of, such as how at work, at home, social life, and home life, and that kind of thing, that sort of keeps you level, and you're aware if one of those pillars isn't right, then you'll affect it. I'm rubbish at that sort of stuff, but you managed to manage it pretty well. Well,
I would say I definitely have come up with a way of managing it. So like you say, so my and this is not, I'm sure there is probably a book that has it printed somewhere that we've just, me and my other half, Ben, have just read it and then thought it was our own idea. But we very much talk about my pillars, and everyone's will be different. It's my relationship with Ben. It's my friends. It's my family. It's my health, my mental health, and my physical health, and my career. And like you say, I've kind of got myself in a place where I can definitely handle 1 wobbling. I can probably at a push handle 2 wobbling, but usually what I find, if it's 2 are wobbling, they all start to wobble.
Right.
So that's when I need to focus on. I've usually, when I can feel myself just getting to that place, I just do an exercise to go, what's in my control to just maybe stabilise some of that? What is out of my control that I need to just accept? And you know, whether it's you're dealing with grief, or there is something personal going on, or work is just like really just going through like a particularly tough phase, just accepting what is out of your control and fixing what's in your control usually just brings those pillars right around. And I find it me and Ben actually came up with it to find an easier way to communicate with each other about us and how we were feeling. I'm just not quite feeling myself. So we do pillar check. So like run through your pillars.
That's really good.
Run through your pillars. How are you feeling about? You know, when sometimes you just get this feeling of I don't feel quite right. Usually doing that pillar check, you get a sense of what's going on.
It's good that you're aware enough to, okay, I'll let that go a little bit, but once it goes too far, like you said, you're aware of it. Like I'm really bad at that. It'll take my wife to say, right, okay, listen, now's the time, and she'll sit me down and we do a process of like worst case scenario, best case scenario. Like you said, what's out of your control, and then it does put things in order, doesn't it? And it helps, and it releases a lot of pressure.
Yes, it does.
But where you can do that yourself, I need a bit of a bit of a nudge.
Definitely. That's me with Ben.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, obviously really successful female in technology. Have you had it throughout your career, your apprenticeship all the way to where you are now, have you had any sort of hurdles to get over, or have you experienced any, bias I suppose is the right word, or difficult scenarios?
I think I have been very lucky that I do not feel at any point being a woman has held me back.
That's brilliant.
Not at, being the one out of 32 in that apprenticeship group, definitely not at IPF, definitely not at ASDA, and I'd like to think the fact I am where I am has meant that it hasn't held me back, and I've never felt that it's held me back. I have experienced things I don't think you necessarily experience if you're a man. There's also that just general, you've got a nice big new car, when are all the babies coming? It's that type of thing where would you necessarily say it if it was a man?
No.
And I think I have got pretty comfortable with being quite direct in the moment of like, oh, would you say that if I was a guy?
Fair play.
I try to. Try to, and I try and always do it in the right way. You never want to kind of be really aggressive with it, but try and always do it in the right way. What I would say is that I think my age is the thing that I get the most comments on, and I think it's my age versus my probably seniority now. And I think 90% of the time it's people are very complimentary about it and comment about it all the time, and it's coming from a very almost proud place. But unfortunately what I then hear is inexperienced rather than young. I hear inexperienced, and I've had to do some reflecting on that myself and gone, do you know what, you just kind of need to get over it. You kind of need to just get over that. They don't mean it in a way of inexperience. You're just hearing inexperience, and that's a bit of imposter syndrome coming out. You just need to deal with it. And the other 10% that go, well, I'm old enough to be her mother. That could be said in a very complimentary way. I'm old enough to be her mother. Or it could be said in a not so complimentary way. And do you know what? I put that down to it's fine. Not everyone, I get how maybe being managed by someone who is a lot younger could be strange.
Difficult for somebody.
Difficult for some people, but hopefully when people get to know me, they know, it's down to the experience I have and the person and the leader who I am. So then all of that seems to
die away, thankfully. Have you mentioned it there, imposter syndrome? Do you suffer from it much? And is that one of the things you have to work on?
I would say it's my biggest opportunity.
Right.
Is the imposter syndrome, and I think that I wake up some days and think, what on earth is going on?
Yeah.
Because with being a leader and being a leader of people and a leader of an organisation as big as ASDA, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah,
and, I still feel like I did when I joined the organisation when I was 19. So I think I try and harness the really good and positive things about that. I can still connect with all of those levels because I've come through it.
Yeah, very true.
And I like to think that I've got my finger on the pulse of how people are actually feeling rather than what they may be telling me they're feeling. And I feel like I can build those relationships where I'm like, come on, just tell, it's me.
Yeah.
So just tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And I try not to let it make me super nervous. I can get very nervous when I'm speaking in front of big crowds, when I'm with the exec, when I'm when I've got big important meetings. But my he won't like this, me name dropping him on the podcast, but the current CIO that I work with, he gave me some advice that was, you are the most knowledgeable person in the room. So when you're going in to talk to very, very senior people about something, you know the most.
Brilliant.
So
good advice,
they're going to ask you lots and lots of different questions. You cannot be 100% prepared for it because you don't know what they're going to ask you.
Yeah.
So you can be as prepared as you can be.
Yeah.
But if you try and think of everything, you're just going to...
You'll crumble, won't you?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And there has been the measure of success for me that I am getting better at that is when I present or when I'm in those very, very senior meetings. What used to happen to me, still does occasionally, is my Apple Watch will go are you okay? Because my heart's going so fast.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember saying it on stage about a year ago. I went, oh, my Apple Watch is asking me if I'm okay. And so I know that's just a physical reaction, and actually now that I know it happens, and one other thing that I've always done throughout my career, if I've got a very big moment where I know I'm going to be very nervous, I go in the toilet and listen to Eminem, Lose Yourself, with my earpods in, and I've just found little ways of, you're going to be really nervous, so you just need to chill.
Yeah.
And the measure for me is that probably goes off one time in 25 now, instead of it being once every 2 times.
Yeah. So it gives you a bit of confidence. If it's not going off, it builds your confidence.
Oh well, I'm actually fine.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So
that's really good. And while you've been at ASDA, it's afforded you some great opportunities, hasn't it? I think you went out to Walmart in the US.
Yep.
Was that for a year?
I was at about 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
How did that develop you? What was that? Obviously experiencing different cultures. We're going to talk about cultures in a little bit, but how was that, and how did it shape you?
It was honestly, I think, one of the best things that's ever happened in my career for me as a leader. And it was a real point in time where, for me personally as well, so I think I was 21, 22 when effectively it was a leadership program for 9 months. It was the first time they'd ever done it, and the last. So they had all of the international countries sent what they deemed as a leader of the future to Walmart to effectively do the same job as they did in their home country.
Right, yeah.
50% of the time, and then 50% of the time was totally focused on leadership training. So they'd asked quite a number of people before they asked me, and everyone went, "No, I'm not going to Arkansas for 9 months." And they got to me, and I was like, "Yeah, go on then." I'd never been to the US. I didn't know where Arkansas was, and I didn't drive. But I was like, yeah, sure. So this was just before Christmas, and I went in the March. I learned to drive because the people over there were like, you can't not drive here. Like, you just can't.
You'd be isolated, yeah.
So I learned to drive in 3 months, which is a miracle, to be honest. And then drove on the other side of the road for 9 months. But anyway, my mum refused to get in the car when she came to visit. So I went there, and because it was the first time they'd ever done a program like that, it was quite unstructured. So they'd half thought through it. So they kind of put us in teams, and at the time I was managing what we called the workstation team back then. So it was all your laptops, peripheries, exec support, kind of events, your collaboration tools, all of that really good stuff. I was managing that in the UK. So they put me in a similar team in the US. But if you imagine the size and scale of, like, I had a team of 12 doing that in the UK. In Walmart, they had a team of like just over 1,000 people.
Wow.
Like, working on, because if you think about the amount of people who work in their head offices, the amount of head offices they have, the amount of events they run, the exec team that they support, you're talking it's the Waltons.
Yeah,
and then the Walmart exec board. So little old me coming in, they didn't really know what to do with me. So I spent quite a lot of time doing some quite cool stuff on things like ticket trend analysis, and how, like, when were they seeing drop off of, I think it was a certain type of like laptop, when were they starting to see the drop off? But you're talking, it's like thousands and thousands of people and desktops, and so I did like quite a lot of modelling and worked with their third party. I can't remember what the third party was, but worked with their third party on, here's where I think you need to focus your time in terms of service improvement. I then spent some time with the exec support team. That was incredible.
Was that was an eye opener?
Yeah, it was a real eye opener. There was a gentleman who was on the board for a very long time in Walmart's infancy, who passed away when I was there, and they beamed his funeral into the office. And it was that team who did the the conferencing support for all of that. Like, it was just another world. No pressure on that then, no. Like, can you imagine? So being exposed to that kind of, like, there's thousands of people, and the campuses is like huge, and the tech building alone has 4,000 people in it. It was an incredible experience. And then all of the leadership side of it was very American. Yeah. And like, there is no hold barred, and there's no being shy, and there's get on that stage, and there was a lot of role play. Right. Sitting back to back, and you're having a very difficult conversation with someone. And I actually ended up getting very close with the HR development lady who ran the course. And we became really, really good friends outside of work. And she almost became like almost this therapist outside of work that was like, do you realise how like shy and like reserved and all of the things that you are in a group before you've sussed everybody out, and then you feel like you can start to come out of your shell? Like, why is that? Yeah. And she just like poked me and prodded me and was just like, but why? No and way. It really made me think about, why do I do that? Is it a confidence thing? Is it I don't want to say the wrong thing? Is it that I want to make a good first impression? Is that and it just taught me so much about me as a person, but also me as a leader, and deciding like who I wanted to be. And I think it just solidified a lot of, things whilst I was still fairly young, and thinking, well, who am I? And I did all of that, but at the same time, you're starting a whole new life. I didn't know a soul when I turned up, and I was so lucky to have some amazing expats around me who just took me under their wing and just invited me to be part of their friendship group. And from like day 2, they were like, would you like to come float down the Missouri River? And I was like, yeah, fine. And we were like inseparable then for 9 months. They were amazing to me, and we're still in touch now. Like I felt like I've got another family. Like it was amazing. That kind of impressionable period in my life. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. I would say to anybody who works in a big organisation, if you get an opportunity to do something like that when you are working at like one of the biggest corporate head offices in the world, if you get an opportunity to go and work abroad for a year or any of that, just do it, because I think
So do you think that it sounds like it gave you the foundations of where you are now, just the exposure to things at scale, and to, I mean, really throwing yourself outside your comfort zone, and having first experiences of that, and then it's almost like ripping the plaster off. Once you've experienced it once, you can then go and take it on from there. Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And something else I wanted to ask you about, unbelievable achievement, but you were recently recognised in Women to Watch list 2024. Yeah. How did that come about, and what an experience?
Incredible. And people don't necessarily believe this of me, but I am almost like an introvert extrovert. When I'm at home, I'm quite reserved, and I don't have a huge amount of confidence and all of those types of things. So when it comes to like successes, whether it's something the team have delivered or this, like I just want to be taken into a corner, given a pat on the back, and then nobody ever knows, because I just want to do a good job, and I do not like that's one thing. When we did all the personality testing when I was in the US, it was like, wow, you really don't like to be the center of attention at all. So something like that massively pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I think it was a combination of people who had put me forward for that. Some HR, some of my leadership, combination of, I don't really know actually who put me forward for it, but so I knew they'd put me forward, but then I heard nothing for months, and I was just honoured to even, I think it was when I got shortlisted, I was like, oh my God, I've been shortlisted, that's incredible. I didn't really tell anyone. Wow. And then one day I walked into the office, and I'm an early bird, so it was early, there was no one around. My boss was sat on my desk and was texting, and then he looked up and saw me, and he went, and he was just like, I'm just texting you, come here. And I thought, uh-oh. And there'd actually been a really important meeting the night before, and I thought, uh-oh. I've not prepped it well enough, what has happened? And he went, come with me. And walked me up the stairs, and I thought, what on earth is happening here? And his boss was sat at the top of the stairs waiting for me, and I was like, and he just slid over a piece of paper that said Women to Watch 2024, and I was speechless, and I just kept saying, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. And then I was embargoed on it for 4 months, so I couldn't tell anyone.
You had to sit on it.
I had to sit on it. So then, literally no one knew. I was on the train to London, and everyone was like, why are you going to London? I was like, conference. And all of the team are going, do you need us to prep anything for you? Are you speaking? Do you need any help? Why are you being so weird? And then, a couple of hours later, they've put it on LinkedIn, and everyone's texting me, oh, what? And I'm like,
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a heck of an achievement. Yeah.
So I'm very, very proud. Amazing to be recognised by ASDA putting me forward, but then to be recognised in the industry, very, very proud.
It's huge
moment.
And I know you already get involved in mentorship, don't you, and things like that. I don't think you need spurring on anymore, do you? But if you did, do you think that would drive you to think, get more, I suppose, more women involved in the future?
Definitely. I think I do a lot of mentoring. Some more informal than the others. So, because I always say to people, if they'll come and go, so and so's pointing me in your direction, or do you mind if we just have I've seen you do that in this meeting. I want to maybe do a bit more of that. Can you help? I tend to not try to formalize mentoring unless I think I can really help.
Yeah.
Because I just think sometimes I'm not the best person to help with that particular thing, actually, but I know who is. Go speak to this person and this person, and I'll just help you with that tiny bit. And it might be that we have 1 or 2 sessions and it's done almost. But then there's relationships that are longer. But there is kind of schemes that I'm involved in terms of mentoring circles. I'm on my a new cohort's about to start now, and it's for women and women in our functions of tech, and then colleagues from ethnic diverse backgrounds.
Right.
So we're kind of giving a quite loose framework. It's topics that we've touched on today. So confidence, imposter syndrome, managing a career with a family, taking your own career into your own hands, and how do you make sure that you've got advocates and all of those types of things. And those mentoring circles are incredible, because try and create a space where everyone feel like they can be really, really open and they know nothing's going to leave the room, which, considering these people work for my peers in some scenarios, I have to try really hard not try really hard, but they have to accept that they can trust me quite quickly. So I try to be very vulnerable in that first session and almost tell them things that shock them that I'm telling them. About me, or about how, I'll tell a story about imposter syndrome and how instances where I felt it and they've gone, really? So I try to do that to build the trust to go, you can tell me anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to go any further.
And
we're just all here to help each other, and try and do a bit that reverse mentoring too, because I don't have kids. I don't know what that's like. I'm not from an ethnic diverse background. I don't know what that's like. So almost all of us learning from each other and seeing the relationships that build in that mentor circle is one of the best things. Mentor circles are definitely something that I get loads out of.
Do you think mentoring circles is a really good way to get, it sounds like it's a really good way to get very honest feedback if you're willing to show vulnerability to build that? Because one of my questions was going to be, as a leader, you create psychologically safe environments. How do you go about how do you go about doing that within your team? It sounds like you go from the vulnerability aspect as well. Does that, obviously breaking down barriers that are just, and I suppose you'll understand how successful you've been with that by what comes your way.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I think that's always important, and always important to I will have a sense of if things are particularly busy or people are frustrated at a particular thing. I try and go, I understand that this and this is really hard, and here's my perspective on what I think I'm trying to do to change those things. I'm not up here completely don't get it. Does that make sense? So please trust that, and I do think as well, building trust has to be on the back of action. Because if you just do a lot of listening, that's great, but if you then don't act on that listening, then people just stop talking to you. So
I agree with that.
And I think creating an environment where everyone can be really honest And I have to stop myself sometimes because I just want to give all the answers. Like, well, we'll just do this, or we'll fix this, or we'll do that. And sometimes the power of listening is really important. But I think that's how you build. The mutual trust is by showing that vulnerability, but also just by action.
Yeah, you're right there, because if you're asking for feedback, or you in a situation like that where someone's providing you with some information, and like I said, you listen, you don't do anything about it, it'll be, why bother, won't it? Like, why would I bother in the future? Yeah. And I suppose you can't always action everything, can you?
No.
But if you action certain points, or what you can, or raise what you can't, then it helps to build that.
Oh, and be honest where.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried this, and this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm in a situation where I can't change it, but here's what I've gone and done about it. So,
yes. So you're giving the transparency. So then I don't think, actually, Nick's not done anything about it. I know that you've come and said, listen, Adrian, I've tried to do this. Yeah. That's great. Can you be too vulnerable?
I think so. I think I learned that probably earlier in my career, in a sense that I probably tried to be everyone's friend. I like to be liked.
Yeah.
And I think I try to probably be everyone's friend too much, and then therefore too vulnerable, that almost you can start to have really blurred lines.
Yeah.
So I think if my team was sat here, they would say I'm very open to a point. I'll be really clear if I'm like, do not want to talk about it.
Yeah. It's off grid.
Or like,
yeah. What makes a good leader then, and what's your leadership style, and has it evolved over throughout your career?
Yeah, I think it has. I think I'm a very people-centric leader. So I am a really big believer in know your people, know how to get the best out of them, put them in the right place, use them for the skills they have. Make sure you have a really good mix of skill, personality, ambition. I think you do need almost having the same types of individuals. Like I remember a team I had at one point, a senior team, that were all very similar. And actually it just created an environment where we all just violently agreed with each other. And actually you don't push things on. So I try and create those types of teams, and I think that's the type of leader I am, and I would hope that means that people do come to me. But then also when I go, I've made a decision. People respect it. Or do you know what? It's not good enough, or I need more, or I need something different, or I need you to help me in this and this way. Then they do it for me because we've got that mutual respect.
Yeah, because you've built that up over time. Yeah. Would you say, if you're spinning up teams for specific projects, will you look at what the project is and think, right, okay, that individual, personality-wise, or for the particular project we're doing, would fit, that one would fit? It's not potluck, is it? You're actually structuring it by strengths that come to the team.
And I think that's really difficult. I was actually talking to somebody about this earlier today. It's really difficult in an environment where everyone's always really busy to do that, because it's very easy to go, well, that person's got 20% of capacity over there, and that one's got like a day a week, and let's just mash them together and hope for the best. It's really difficult, but using people for the skills they've got, definitely. And I think it depends on what you're working on and the stakeholder you're working, business stakeholder that you're working on something with too, because your stakeholders are always going to be a bit different. Some want everything high level, some are very detailed, some are in the middle somewhere, some very serious, some not so serious. I think you have to know your stakeholders too, in terms of I know what leaders I would put in front of certain stakeholders, and then some that I'd go, I'll do that one.
Right, yeah, definitely. So it really goes back to understanding your team, doesn't it? There can't be any sort of, it's not a transactional process running a team, is it? You've really got to understand the individuals.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you drive them with, not just sell it, but you said this is the reason? How important sort of clarity and
the why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the why and the purpose and that kind of thing.
Yeah, really important, because otherwise people, like, you're asking them to jump off a train that's already left the station, and people are so less likely to be with you.
Yeah.
So I think explaining that why, no matter what type of change it is super important.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to pick your brains on is we're in obviously hybrid working and that kind of environment now. I know quite a lot of companies can struggle a little bit with the collaboration aspect. How have you found sort of ensuring collaboration amongst teams with
hybrid work?
Yeah, basically.
So I love hybrid working. I love being in the office 2 days a week, 3 days a week, sometimes 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But I do also like the time at home.
Yeah.
I think you have to almost create a reason for people to be together.
Yeah.
And for me, that reason is building relationships, whether that's within your team, with your stakeholders, with somebody else, like other teams in tech.
Yeah.
For specific purposes. And then totally understanding that there's certain things, if you need to receipt a load of purchase orders and you need to go by line through your project plan and you need to do all of those things, like, do that at home.
Yeah.
Definitely do that at home. Do not sit in the office. But I think as well, like, I see some people that come in and they sit in the office on a Zoom all day long. And I think it's the power of the people to go, do you know what? Why don't we do all of our meetings face to face?
Yeah.
Like, I think I've done majority of face to face meetings today, but I've made it that way. It's not just like happened by accident.
Yeah.
I've gone, are you going to be in the office? Yeah, I'm going to be in the office. Cool. Well, let's do that meeting in the office. It is hybrid, then great. I think for me as a leader, I am very visual.
Right, yeah.
I love a whiteboarding session. Like, you don't see me. Like, it's amazing if I get through. If there's a whiteboard there, like, the team take the mick out of me loads. They're like, not picked up that pen yet, have you?
Itching for it.
Like, itching for it. Because I find it very easy to describe, especially if you're talking about stuff that's very complex or stuff that is very theoretical. I like to use examples and do all of that. So I like to draw it out, or if we've got a big problem to solve, I like to go, right, let's just get it down on paper and then let's just see what's in front of us and we'll prioritise it that way.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I appreciate it's not for everyone, but actually the results that you see out of the back of stuff like that, I think are far better than if you were to do it at home.
Yeah.
But then I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's not all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's difficult. I think creating a reason to be in the office is really important. And then I think the social side of it too. I think it has been impossible, I'd love to know if somebody has solved this, but I think it's been impossible to replace the water cooler conversations.
Yeah.
I don't think that will ever be fixed.
No.
With like purely remote working. I notice it a lot if you're on almost a fully remote, if you're on a hybrid meeting, some people in the office, some people at home, you don't have any chit chat because it's like awkward because people like in the room might chit chat and then someone on the screen might jump in and it all gets a bit, and then you go, oh, should we just get down to business?
You lose that, don't you?
You lose that. And I think then that's the human connection that you almost need. I think one of the big reasons another reason I've done all right in my career so far is it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm like just surround myself with people who are just better at stuff than I am.
Yeah.
So that I can go, do you know what? I know someone who will be able to just solve this for us. Let me just give them a ring.
Yeah.
And if you've not spoken to them for 4 years because one of you's been working from home the whole time, like, how's the last 4 years been? And also, can you do this DNS change for me? Like,
yeah, can you help me?
It's not got the same ring to it.
It's not, and people can see right through it as well,
Exactly.
can't they? It's amazing. It's like a lot of people, there's the old adage, don't be the smartest person in the room, but it sounds like you're open to be like giving everybody a voice and letting everybody contribute, and I like the theory of bringing people in for a reason and actually being productive. So standing by what you say, right, we're coming in to do X, and then the team do X, and they see the value in it, and then it's mental. They'll want to come back in again, won't they? I suppose it just rolls with that.
Definitely.
What are you like with communication in your team? I've on a few people that I've spoken to, I've heard the was it umbrella theory of sheltering your team from all the information, the heat shield where you just letting bits of information through. It seems to vary between leaders on, whether you give your team all the information, whether you don't, whether you give them bits. Where do you stand on it?
I would say I'm like somewhere in between. I try and be like as open as to go back to the always explain the why. I think if I think it is really important for them to know, I will always be as transparent as I can be.
Yeah.
So, because I think that's important on bringing them journey, and I can think of a couple of times recently where we've talked about things and you can see them go, oh, right, so that's why that and that.
Yeah.
Does that mean you go, yeah? And they go, oh, okay. So try and share as much as I can, but I also feel like I have a good gut feel of where the line on that is, and reading people as well in terms of, is it the right debate to get into this thing or today? Like, is that the right time? So I try and not completely shield. I think it's unhealthy to completely try and
shield completely.
Shield.
I like that. And referring it back to the why, this is why we're on the journey. You'll get the information to take us along the journey, but some of it is maybe a bit too sensitive, or some of it is not needed. So
absolutely. And also, like, I think if you are, it goes back to trust. So almost I rely on my team for me to be successful, and ultimately if I need their help, I need them to be there. So I think if you never share anything, you're almost in that situation where when I go, I need you and here is the why, they're just going to go, okay, like maybe tomorrow. So I think if you've already, my team know when serious Nick is in the building.
Well, I remember you referenced something when I first spoke to you, and it's obviously testament to the culture that you've created within your team. Is I think you were going into an important presentation which required a lot of data, and I think it's probably working outside hours in order to, or short notice to do that, and they jumped on board, didn't they to help you? But as a leader, you gave back as well, didn't you? Did you? Because one of my questions was going to be, and we might be able to wrap it in tech, it can be very it can be very easy to work long, intense hours, and how do you, as a leader, sort of keep control over that? But maybe that's a good example of.
So in that particular, I was very short notice asked to go. Can you go explain to some of our very senior leaders why we can't do this thing? Like, technically we can't do it, and I knew the reason, but I knew I was going to be asked like a million different questions. Well, have we tried this? Have we tried that? Why doesn't that work? Couldn't we just, I knew I was going to ask the breadth of all of that. And it's actually something we'd explored 6 months ago. So then 6 months is a long time. So I said to the team, this is our one opportunity. It's one opportunity to put this to bed forever. We've been asked this question, again. Here we are, this is our opportunity to put it to bed, but I need your help.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to put it to bed, I've got to have answered every single one of their questions and give them the recommendation that we all want out of it. So what that means is I need you to pull out of the bag. Like, prep me with, go test everything. Like, I know you've done it before, but go test it. Like, I want you to try that barcode. I want you to try that barcode. I want you to stand on one head, like one leg, and rub your tummy and see if that works. Like, just try everything and just think of every single scenario, and let's just see if we've missed something. But also, just give me the results of all of that. And they did, and they were amazing. And they were like, not like the first reaction was like, not this again. But we got it done. Got the result. They had done all of that hard work. I then was feeling, pretty confident about it. It was like, I have got to have covered every single question that they're gonna ask me. We went into the session, and I remember their faces as I came out. I was walking down the office. I remember two of them pointing at me like, she's here, and just going thumbs up, thumbs down, are we good? Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, it's good. We've smashed it. We've absolutely smashed it. It was really they're all high-fiving each other and all that type of thing. So kind of hammed it up. And we had a very good culture in that. It's one of my old teams, but we had a very good culture in that team of quiz on a Thursday night, and we'd go out for, not just our the tech team. We would go with the business team we were working with. So. We created that environment of we all go out together, we take the partners we were working with,
nice.
And kind of once when we were doing big feature deliveries, we would go out and celebrate and lunch and all of that type of thing. So we kept it very much, we might put in a load of hours, but actually when that all comes to fruition, we're just going to take a minute to celebrate what we've done, and pizza in the office and all of that type of thing.
Just anything to show you gratitude, appreciate it. Yeah, it's not all take. We'll do some other.
Yeah.
Has it become more difficult to create a fun environment or fun culture now with hybrid, work? Everyone's done the Friday drinks on Teams and wine tasting on Teams.
And I think that was great when everybody was at home. And I think it was great when everyone was at home and also had nothing else to do on a Friday night. So being with your team drinking wine at 8 p.m. on a Friday was cool, virtually.
Yeah.
But almost if you tried to keep that culture going now, it would feel a little bit weird, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways, I'm really lucky that the team I've inherited, half the team I've inherited that I have now had a brilliant culture, and we have a monthly session where we all get together, and it's all very different disciplines. I have accountants and they have project managers, and there's some PMO governance, and it's supplier management and program delivery. It's a lot of different disciplines, and but do you know what they love doing? We do, we call it Dan's Dosh, guy called Dan who runs it. You put a quid in, spin the wheel, who gets Dan's Dosh, and there's usually 50 quid in the pot or whatever, and there's always this one lady who wins it, and we all go, oh, not you again. So that is just little things like that, and the attendance at that meeting is on a Friday, which Fridays are normally dead in the office. It's really good, and people come in, and then we will do the drinks after work, but on other Fridays I try and do, and this is something that I got from Judith McKenna, who was she has just retired, but she was the president and CEO of Walmart International. So she worked at ASDA for a long time. I can't remember how many years service she ended up retiring on, but she ended up working her way up to CFO at ASDA, then moved over to Walmart, then climbed the ranks at Walmart, ended up being president and CEO of Walmart International. Incredible lady. she did something called tiny noticeable things, and I've kind of carried on that in a slightly different vein now with my team. I always try on a Friday to go, here's a couple of people in the team that I want to celebrate, and it's not necessarily for like a huge thing. It could be like, Dave, thank you so much when you know I hadn't eaten all day, getting me that cup of tea and doing this, this and this. Or thank you for so-and-so who has done that amazing piece of work I asked you to do in 2 days and you just absolutely smashed it out of the park. It hasn't got to be like a really big thing, but I think if you try and wait to do those thank yous and then everybody dives in with a little bit of like, there's a bit of banter. I'll then go, I'm watching the football at the weekend, what does everyone think the result's going to be? And it might start, and what was it, a couple of weeks ago they were talking about, we've got a meeting room called Dog and Duck, and we were like, I thought that was a pub. Like, well, where is the Dog and Duck? So it creates that environment where it's not people who work together all the time,
right? But
actually, they can all have a little bit of fun together, and doing things like the Friday team meetings and the drinks and the all of that. It is important.
I like that. Someone said to me a few weeks ago, like the power of saying thank you, and you hit the nail on the head there. It's not just saying, oh, thanks very much for working hard. Yeah. It's like actually recognizing it, and the people, I'd be like, oh, actually, Nick, yeah. It's not just a thank you, it's like, thank you for doing something specific, and it's really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've done that for quite a lot of years now. I've done it with like multiple different teams, and I sometimes think, oh, is it getting a bit stale? Like, should I mix it up a bit? But I've had quite a lot of people say to me in the newer team that I've got, like, oh, we really like it. Yeah. Like, because it just,
You're getting that feedback.
Yeah, that feedback, and it's just...
But people like to be recognised, don't they? Even if it's just the smallest thing.
Yeah, in the moment. Yeah. Because it's not a big song and dance. It's not,
No.
It's not only that. It's like, thanks.
Yeah, it's important. Last couple of questions before I let you go. I was going to say career progression for people within the team and within the business, and L&D opportunities. Yeah. How important do you think that is for individuals?
Yeah, I think very, very important. I'm a true believer that your career is in your own hands.
Yeah.
And I think, when I talk to people about their career where they're just kind of waiting in dead man's shoes, I go, red flag. Because I think, how are you thinking about different opportunities and just like rather waiting for that next step? I think it is very important to have career progression of leaders, and then career progression of technical specialism. And I think we're striking a balance, and I think it's important to strike a balance of not expecting your technical specialist to have people management, and making sure that we've got very clear career paths for your technical specialisms, and not expecting it to always be line management, or leadership. And then I think too, how do you provide opportunity that isn't necessarily a promotion? Yeah. So if I think about the roles I have done through, the 12 I have done at my time at ASDA, it's been so zigzaggy. So I've done like a couple of roles at one level, then I've got promoted, then I've done another couple of roles, like different ones, infrastructure project manager, then I'm doing a business type role, like business project management, then it's a data project, like very different diverse roles, and then I'd get promoted, and then I'd do different I think it's really okay to take a sidestep move and to see that as progression, rather than always thinking the promotion is the progression.
Nick, thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me. Brilliant, loads and loads of information and valuable information for people there. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.